Matsy, what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about Absolute Superman number 3. This issue focuses on young Kal-El's life on Krypton during the planet's final days. It's exploring themes of censorship, class warfare, ecological disaster, planetary doom, uh, corrupt law enforcement, all kinds of interesting things like that. So we're gonna see Jor-El get arrested. We're gonna see his wife rescue him with like a lava gun or something, and we're gonna see plans to escape the dying planet with the whole family involved. So it's an issue. It's a really interesting issue, I guess. We're gonna talk about it.
I'm s I'm starting to like this a little more.
Okay.
I'm not there's my hot take. Part of this may just be I like Superman, and so, this is an experimental take on the character, and so it's trying to break left when normally you'd break right. And so some of those, experiments I think work better than others, but there's a few of them that I think are interesting. So, for example, it's asking the question of, at least so far, we have that classic image of Jor-El and Lara never make it off Krypton. We always are just doomed to die on Krypton itself. And the implication of this issue is that actually, what if Jor-El and Lara built a spaceship that was big enough to house more than just the baby, which is something that some people have sometimes like joked about, like made some memes about. Like, if you're gonna build, if you have the time to build a spaceship, why'd you only have enough space to put the baby on it? And so this story is basically answering that with, okay, let's actually get Lara and Jor-El a little further than go, and to use a Monopoly terms. And I'm actually kind of like, I'm intrigued. I still think that they're doomed to die. Like, by the time we get to the present day of the narrative, I don't think we see evidence of Lara or Jor-El. So I think something probably still happened to them. But the fact that we get to see them like a little bit longer, like, color me intrigued. It's a different thing to do with this alternate version of Superman. There's also some interesting things with making Kal-El specifically in love with the written word, and having that be, I think, the seed of him wanting to be a journalist, and also have the seed of him wanting to do right in the world. So there's this whole thing about how Krypton just has the AI write everything, which of course is very relevant to our current day and age.
But Kal-El wants to find his own voice, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So there are things I like. There are things I don't like, but I am noticing that all of these absolute stories are taking at least 3 issues before they hit closer to like something that I can sink my teeth into. So
Yeah, my counter hot take to your hot take is that I hate this issue, and it's definitely the weakest third out of the bunch, with actually Wonder Woman surprisingly being the strongest. But yeah, it's full of tropes and cliches. Like, it's completely unoriginal, and it just feels like any English student in a high school could write this. There's nothing unique, and any of the character development points here, they're just, oh, he defied a 3,000-year-old culture by writing something of his own, and the parents come to him and say, look, the AI was there to guide you with all of this experience and wisdom for you to be able to write this paper, but you got to pursue your passion. It's a unique society, and they handle it in the most ununique way possible. The dad is arrested, as for heresy, I guess, because he's defying their geological,
He's
wishes.
anti-science.
He's a scientist who's anti-science, and so he's countering their decrees and the society's will about what's happening with the geology. And so the mom's response is to pick up her gun and go a blasting, and go, let's save daddy and stuff. It's like, who is writing this? Oh yeah, Jason Aaron, right? At 12-year-old.
I think you're being. I think that's.
Why didn't you like it? You just described the plot. I don't know why you don't like.
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
I
You
think
don't hear the cliches, like, bleeding out of my teeth as I'm
it's
describing
it's
them to
it's
you, like, it's
superhero
just
comics, like, there's only so far you're gonna be able to expand past that,
I
but
don't agree. I never accept that, that justification. It's comic books, so of course it's supposed to suck,
oh,
like,
no, I don't
no,
think it sucks. I don't think it sucks. I love my tropes. I love my superhero tropes. I'm not even complaining that they suck. I think I will agree. I think having tough mom with her lava gun, I did roll my eyes a little at that. That was like but the other things that Aaron was doing, I actually liked. The whole idea of like this is making a Superman, not the Superman, because again, this is an alternate version. Even in this DC universe or multiverse, however you want to spell it. Like I'm currently reading Action Comics and Superman, and the main Superman is very normal Superman. This is meant to be an alternate take, and in that alternate take, it's trying to capture a zeitgeist that's very 2020, right? And so you have things like uh, the overreach of AI that stilts the humanities. That's something very personal to me. I was talking about it backstage with people, and I've been talking about it with lots of other people about just what is happening with the humanities if the computer is just going to write it all for you. And Aaron is picking up on that and making it relevant to uh, comics most famous journalist. That's kind of I like that. I kind of like that we're playing with that, and the idea of is of going against the scientific consensus and having consequences happen
Yeah.
to you. That
Yeah.
happened just like a few years ago.
That's a
Like
it
little
takes
radical.
it takes
that's not just a cliche, man. That is literally history.
It
That
takes the
happened.
zeitgeist it takes the zeitgeist and, like you're saying, these interesting ideas and conflicts, potentially, and does the most unoriginal things with them, Like, that's the problem that I have with this. The writing is completely
Mm,
uninspired. And, yeah,
mm.
there's tidbits here where, like, you could develop a nice narrative, and you could do a good exploration. They build the arc, to, like, save, their people from this dying planet. And they don't do any parallels to anything theological. There's just nothing. It's like, yeah, we're going to be a family and we're going to be together now. And of course, all the elites are building arcs for just them. And it's just, it's so tired. Like,
How
there's
is it
nothing
how is it
original in
tired?
the
How is
story.
it how is it tired here? But like I feel like this is just
Is
I
Superman an
like
interesting character out of all of these interesting dynamics and this foyer of, like, current relevant, culturally influential kind of aspects, the attributes that they're including into the story. Do you get a more interesting Superman from any of this?
Let's take a brief pause to hear from the awesome creators joining us today and find out what cool projects they're currently working on.
Hey guys, if you love sword and sandal historical fiction with a healthy dose of ancient Roman and Egyptian fantasy mixed in, then check out Kyrie. We've got 450 pages printed so far, and a fourth book on the way. Order your books today at curiecomic.com.
modern day classic superhero storytelling. Get The Adventures of Omega Girl issues 1 through 5 now on Indie Planet.
Thank you to our awesome creators, and now back to the video.
Are
I
you
think
more
so.
invested in
No,
him at all?
I'm I a little, yeah. Just because like it's doing different things with a familiar character, and it's
It does
doing things,
nothing with the character.
and it's doing things that are relevant to our current day that Superman usually doesn't play with. I'm this is the version of Nemesis Rogues Gallery that I'm okay reading.
Well, I don't know. I'd rather
Wow.
read Nemesis Rogues
I'm
Gallery
sorry.
than
This is the version of Nemesis Rogues Gallery that I am comfortable reading.
this. And
Yeah.
actually, the writing, like, Jason Aaron's writing, is just so. Again, it's teenagey. Like
It clunks here and
That
there.
yeah, I
I'm
agree with
not gonna
that.
deny that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I hear the characters speak, and I hear cartoon voices come out of their mouths. Like,
They're cartoon characters, man. I'm okay with some of that.
they're not cartoons. This is at least, like, the age recommendation 13 plus. Can we ascribe a level of modicum of maturity to the readership
I d
here, please?
I I'm enjoying some of the ride. It was just I think it went too far. I think if it dialed back a little bit, there's no again, a corrupt elite that saves itself and not its citizens. Again, it's like, what did you see during COVID
I
when they
didn't
were
see that coming.
when they were having like parties while everyone else had to like, you know what I mean?
The
Like this is
the
like
elites.
it's pulling off of it, real life is too cartoony for this to be accused of cliche, in my opinion. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, the elites. I don't want to get into a whole COVID thing because
Right? No, I get it.
that's
I
not
get
the
it. I'm
setting
just
for this. But I'm just saying, there were a lot of more interest. There are a lot more interesting things he could have done with those elements than what it was actually presented here. But in terms of like, okay, so let's get off this point that we clearly diverge on.
sure.
Uh, and one interesting thing I saw was the appearance of Ma Kent at the end, and I do like
Yeah,
the idea.
what'd you think of that?
Yeah, I do like the idea that, it's the whole family escaping because usually the Superman comic books, they would have to shoehorn in other Kryptonians into the storylines. And here it's set up that, a bunch of them do survive and you can have these alien interactions with people that are like Superman in the Earthbound setting. But where does Ma and Pa Kent actually fit into the picture of raising an orphan who is shipwrecked with his parents? That's an interesting plot twist.
Yeah.
So the photo still seems to imply that it's Ma, Pa, and and Clark there in the middle. So I'm wondering because we're getting these flashbacks, right? Because in the current day, regular Superman is kind of more of a broken figure. He's not the version we get in this issue is bright, he's cheerful, and they're gonna go on a space adventure together. And then the version we got in issue 1 and 2 was like brooding, and something had clearly gone wrong. So
Mhm.
I'm wondering if on the journey in space like something happened. So like I said, I think Jor-El and Lara, it's gonna be cool to see their story doesn't always have to end on in Krypton's destruction. Jason Aaron's like, hey, let's have him live a little longer. Let's do a little more with these characters. I'm like, okay, for an alternate version of Superman, I'm interested in that, but I still feel like something's in the wings going to happen because the version of Superman we have is alone and really clearly traumatized. So I don't know if something happened right. I don't know if something will happen when they land on Earth or if something on the ship journey to Earth, but it's still clearly in the wings.
And that kind of alludes to my main criticism of this issue in particular is that like we've seen Absolute Batman do a like a pause and then a reflection earlier into the life of the story we've been set up, and we're doing that here, but we're this just feels like we're just kind of retreading, I think, a lot of the same themes that were hit, like, what we liked about, thinking for yourself versus AI augmented thinking. Like, we got that in the first pages of issue 1, and we're getting it again here. And and we saw what life looked like on Krypton, and we saw the family structure and the health of the family in issue 1, and I believe in issue 2 too. And or wait, no, I think it was in issue 2. And now we're seeing it a third time. And so I just don't feel like it's not clear to me why we are going back a third time and going back to the same well just to ring the bell a little louder and longer, I guess, with the origin story before eventually we're really gonna start building where he is in the current day, and which is where I think Superman needs to be anyway. So th- that that was what was confusing to me is like why are we still here? I feel like we've hit all the notes that you needed to do, but maybe that's the point of this particular run for Superman, for Absolute Superman, is that uh, we are at least for some reason we're equally interested in the Krypton situation, and because the family story is going to be different. And so we gotta spend more time there, and maybe with this issue-driven format, we have to kind of tell the narrative, then go back, and then, redress the narrative multiple times and kinda, uh, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree with your point, Matt. It does seem like it's just dragging this out way too long. I think I think the problem with this book is that it's trying to build up all of the settings that Superman finds himself in. What kind of Earth? What does his actual Kansas look like currently, which is a Brazilian mine where the workers are being exploited? What does his Krypton actually look like, where it's a technocratic nightmare, with authoritarian overtones all over the place, where apparently you can just have little shootouts with the authorities at any time when your husband is arrested, but that's besides the point. And so there's a lot of time being spent on for lack of a better term, world building. I guess they want to establish where this world that Superman occupies. There's zero time being spent on the character himself. And the reason why I thought that Ma Kent was an interesting introduction is we often talk about with these absolute series, what are the core tenets, the core components, the fundamental piece of that character that cannot be modified or changed in any way whatsoever, if they tend to retain the true spirit and intent of that character in these retellings. To me, for Superman, that is the fact that he's an orphan, and he has to be somebody who's alien in the world that he's currently residing in, and discovering it as somebody who is the other, and he has to find ways to empathize, and by through that process of empathy, he accentuates and he can personify all of those better characteristics of the people that he now finds himself among. So I feel like that is the intent of Superman, to tell those stories. He's a sounding board for the better parts of humanity, because he's searching for those components as somebody who is a stranger among them. If they take away that aspect of him, and he maintains his grounding in Krypton, in an alien setting, and in that very familiar setting that he knew as he escaped, that defeats the purpose of the character's entire narrative, and everything that we find endearing, identifiable about Superman. So I would like to see when they get off of this whole establish the social narrative part of the
Yeah,
story,
get that
commentary
person.
about the society of Krypton, commentary about the society on Earth, and
Mhm.
actually get a little bit to the character himself, because that is really what the Superman books are all about. Guys, final thoughts. Twitless.
Uh, I I am more hopeful than I think the first maybe issue or so. Yeah, we're seeing more we're not just getting brooding Superman. We get to see that there's a root of a child who wants to do right and is there was bright and cheerful. It's some of the elements of the Superman that I know and love. This is definitely meant to be the rah rah fight the power kind of more social revolutionary take on the character, which is, like I said before, a little in tune with his golden age roots to an extent. It's definitely got a modern political twist to it. And I think Aaron is flirting with a line that personally is a very dangerous one, because if you step over it too far, it becomes too much, just, you know, uh, revolutionary. It really loses the root of what Superman represented, which again, truth, justice, the American way. And if he's just going to be a social revolutionary, we're basically at what Superman Red Sun at that point,
Mm.
which is like, just what if Superman was a communist? And it's like, well, we have actually told that story before. So if you want to do something new, you're going to have to like find another lane. There's certain things in here that I like. We didn't talk a ton about the art. The artwork is still doing, I think, really well.
Yeah.
Sandoval, is still doing amazing work, and I think he's doing it pretty reliably for all these issues. So for him to pump out this level of art, 3 issues in a row, without having to get, like, I think, backup artists, it seems like that's a testament it's a visual treat to look at. I'll give you that. And I don't know. I'm a little on the fence. I have a little hope. I do like some of the things Aaron's doing. Other things, not so much. I will say that the some of there were a few moments that really did test my tolerance for like how far they're gonna take Superman into that revolutionary territory. So
Etsy, final thought.
Yeah, I just yeah, Sandoval, I I was really impressed. I was most impressed with issue 1, as you typically are, and issue 2 was good. Issue 3 here, I don't know, there's just a lot of close-up faces, and when there is an action scene, I kinda have to reread it a couple times because there's a little bit of comic book magic going on just to get the scene across and I think get the pages turned in. Entirely understandable. He might be sweating by this point with all the work that he's put into it. So, yeah, I think it continues to be probably the richest visually of the absolute runs that we've been reading. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm looking at visually. And then writing wise, yeah, I just it's gonna be interesting. I mean, we're literally getting the same concepted themes rewritten for 3 issues. So I just don't know if that's the best use of the run's time, given that this is a short run. Like, I just feel like we should be stepping off in new places like we have been with Wonder Woman and with Batman by this point. So I'm hoping there's enough gas in the can plot-wise to really take us somewhere, because I think we get it now with the origin story. I think we need to be in the middle of the plot by this point.
Thank you very much for checking out the video. Subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more.